All right. This was so good. We had technical difficulties, but we had to bring it back. We had to run it back, man. Part two, man.
For sure,
You
for
know,
sure.
the boys are back into. Now he gone. Oh Lord, it's one of them nights, y'all. It's one of them nights. That's all right.
Small intermission.
Got you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
My man, my man. All right, brother. We are back, man. Like, share, subscribe. The boys are back in town. Let's go. We are live again. Because this information is so powerful, y'all. I didn't want to. I wanted him to, just keep flowing so we can get some clips of this great information, so we can really just continue to share, with you guys, man. So welcome back. It's part two, and yeah, man. So we talked about a lot of things in part one, from InvestFest to your new investments, things like that. So this is kind of what I wanted to share this clip with you and kind of get your thoughts on this. I shared this from EYL. Check this out.
So let's go into real estate. You talked about multifamily home investing as opposed to single and family investing. Why is that important for people to learn early on?
Yeah, especially for young people coming up. When I came out of college, I bought a condo. If I were to do it all over again, I would buy myself a duplex, a threeplex, or a fourplex. I would rent out everything possible, including the spare bedroom in the apartment I lived in and lived rent-free. It's important because now I'm not paying for my costs of living. Now I can save and invest more money. The other thing is that the valuation on multifamilies are higher than they are on single-family homes, yet the requirement to buy a threeplex or duplex or fourplex is the same exact lending requirements for buying a single-family home. So you get a ledge up. Now, if I would have did it all over again, I wouldn't have bought that condo, which I did well with. I would have bought a fourplex and would have rented everything out. I think it's so important. You talk about generational wealth and passing it on. That's exactly my game plan. It's like I built up enough real estate.
So what are your thoughts as far as that, man? What's your thoughts on that?
Man, that's right up my alley right there, man. That's what I'm into, the multifamily space. And actually, I was working with a equity partner, actually as an acquisition specialist, going after large multifamily units in Texas, 100+ units. But
Wow.
my biggest thing to that is I actually have a his shout out to MG, the mortgage guy, and
Yeah.
he has some. It's basically a strategy though, so you can pretty much do, and just like he was talking about, if anybody wants to leverage it, the way to go about it is FHA loans will let you get loans up to 4 units and actually still be considered a single family loan. So what the strategy is behind that as well is what you also can do is, say if you got into it and your first one is basically you go start from the top, work your way down. So you live in a fourplex at first, and get how the other 3 units, have somebody staying in it. And with FHA, you only have to be required to stay in it as a owner for 1 year. So you get the 4 unit, live in it for a year, and you rent the other unit you was living in for a year. Then you find you a 3 unit, because FHA will let you downsize. They just won't let you start with a 1 unit, then kind of go to a 2 unit, 3 unit, 4 as a homeowner. So that's just something to think about, right, in the psyche of it. But they let you downsize, so you can go from a 4, 3, 2 to a 1, and basically all with the loan, because you only have to put 3.5% down, versus an investment property maybe 20 to 30% down. So that's a key strategy to utilize that for multifamily. And then also, if you just think about it with multifamily properties, right? Just say if you had 10 houses. If you had 10 houses all over, I'm in Indianapolis. So if I had 10 houses all over Indianapolis, that means I got 10 different roofs, 10 different, 10 different furnaces, 10 different, everything pretty much. And so, and not only that, I'm running all around town to, look at these properties, check on these properties versus the 10 unit, one roof, all the tenants under one roof. But not only that, anything over 5 units is considered commercial. And so with commercial properties, you can do things like get DSCR loans. You can get DSCR loans with single family, but also with commercial properties, what you can get is also not only the DSCR loan, but you can also get a loan where you're not personally liable for it, just because of the amount of the loan, and then actually the terms kind of.
Well, who's liable for it?
Well, because once you go into commercial, you're pretty much doing everything under a business entity.
Okay.
So you can kind of structure it under the business entity, but not only that, the lender is just making sure that if you default, they can still take over the property, and then there's enough equity and everything for the property for them to recoup. So as long as it's a great deal, you know what I mean? That's the way the lender's going to do it. The lender's not going to do it.
They know they can take it back and make some money.
Right. So they structure
it's not losing money. It's an asset.
Yeah, and also the thing of it is anything above 4 units is commercial, and with commercial, it's basically considered a business. So it's considered an income producing property versus a single family home, which is not considered to be really an income producing, only up to the 4 units. So that's why at the 5 unit, it becomes commercial property, but it's also income producing. So that's why if you have a great deal, depending on the bank, you can do the DSCR loans, and you really don't have to show tax returns and things like that. Really,
what does that stand for? What is that for somebody watching? What is
DSCR stands for debt service coverage ratio. And so what that breaks down to is this, just like saying, if you bought a property and say you brought it, let's say for single family, just for easy sake. So if you brought a single family home and the property was bringing in $1,000, but the mortgage on it was $750. So that means it's like pretty much a 1.25%, or 1.2%. I'm not sure the number, but it's actually, you're making more than what the mortgage is. So with most lenders, as long as you're making, a 1.0 or higher. So at a 1.0, that means the property's bringing in, let's say the 750, and you're only making 750. So you're breaking even. So the lender will even do deals for that. They'll let you break even. Some lenders will even let you do as low as like a 0.7, which means it's got negative cash flow. But that's not good for an investor to have a property with negative cash. I mean, you're paying into it every month.
Right.
But the thing of it is, if you can leverage it with good credit, at least a 680 or better, lenders will let you get in there and let the property qualify for the loan instead of the person qualifying for the loan, which means your income, your taxes, things like that. As long as the property is a good deal, they'll let you do it. So that's why it's advantageous. Some people don't want to do it because they don't technically want to live with somebody else when they think about getting a house. But if it's temporarily, you're living in for a year, get the 4 unit, and then if you think about it, you got 4 units paying for itself versus a single family. If one person moves out, that property is not making any more money, right? If you even decided to move out of the 4 unit and nobody else has moved in, you still got 3 other incomes. And that means you're getting the mortgage paid for plus some.
Yeah. Speaking on real estate, what do you think about the NACA program, NACA?
I think the NACA is a pretty good program. It's just that, a lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people don't know about it. A lot of people don't deal with it. There's there's a program out here in Indianapolis, and it's a housing program. A lot of people utilize that to just kind of go through the program to help you get your credit repaired. They'll take you through some as far as budgeting and you know what I'm saying, making sure you're fundamentally sound as far as with your actual financial literacy portion of it, then that alone helps you qualify for the property. So it's just a process with it, but a lot of people, you know, haven't really looked into it and just kind of really understand what it can do for them. But a lot of people are taking advantage of it once they figure out what it can do.
Yeah. So you're pretty well rounded, man. I'm seeing, like, as far as, you know, the financial, you dabble in the stocks, you dabble, you know, real estate, insurance. What's going on with insurance, and what's going on with the what was the term that we were doing, the investment, the bank, the infinite banking?
Right.
Tell us about infinite banking, the laws, the rules, because I heard some stuff about it now. Like,
right,
is it supposed to be advertised like that, or what?
Yeah, you know how you have to do the disclosure. I'm not a licensed financial advisor, so everybody kept saying, Derrick told me, you know what I mean? But I have been, you know, I actually, you know, in that space, I was.
I thought you were, but I thought you were a financial advisor.
Well, at one point, but yeah, like I say, I'm not currently, as far as like licensed, not even with in the banking. And just to give you a quick story on the banking aspect, I had a conflict of interest when I was in the banking space. And just like I was saying, a lot of people don't realize, you know, banks turn down a lot of business owners because banks can't qualify for, small businesses, a lot of times, either they don't qualify as far as their time in business, credit score, or they're not generating enough income. So a lot of times they're not able to get the loans that they, you know, are looking to get. But when they can get the alternative financing, which means private banking or private funding, private money from other investors, they can do it no matter their time in business, doesn't matter. Usually they're just looking at the last 3-4 months of bank statements. Sometimes credit score, you know, is not too much of a factor, just depending on the strength of the business. And like I said, a lot of banks want you to be in business 2 years. So I was helping people with that kind of while I was working at the bank. I knew I was kind of across the line, but what I was doing was I was helping people that the banks couldn't help. So now in retrospect, so a
real conflict of interest, or I don't know, what other term would that be?
Yeah, it's pretty much a conflict of interest to consider, to the point to where, you know, the bank, you know, they even looked at it and thought like I was, you know, kind of taking the clients that they could have potentially had. But, you know, the bank is not going to tell you how to get your credit repaired. You got to come in there with it repaired. They don't have no alternatives for you. They don't have no counseling for you. They just say, hey, get back with us when you got a 680 or better. You know, and
you would think the banks would have some type of vehicle or contact, or, you know, some type of, you know, financial vehicle to do that, to help people, you know, build that credit,
right,
get them to that point. Like, they just send you away, like, come back when you're ready.
Yeah, man. And you know, a lot of people don't know this too, as far as like with the banks, right? So just say if somebody came to the bank, you know, hey, this, you know, I got 10 bands, I want to, you know what I'm saying, I want to invest, show me how to invest. Well, the banks is going to say, okay, is that all you have? Somebody be like, yeah, this is my last, but I want to, you know, I want to invest it. The banks won't even let you invest that, right? Because they feel like you don't have any emergency funds. Anything that you're going to do as far as a bank as an investment may be a couple years, right? So they just look at it logically and say, if this is all you have, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to need some of this money back in the next 10 years. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, in the next 2 years, 2-3 years or whatever, you know, you put in. Sometimes CDs are even, you know, 2-year terms or 3-year terms. And if you try to take it out, you're going to get penalized. Mm-hmm. My thing with that was a few years back when that happened with me. I ain't gonna say a few years back, it was almost 20 years back. When I was, you know, fresh in the game, this was, you know, like 2005. And I took, you know, like I said, not really having the guys, not knowing how things work. And I put $5,000 and I put it into basically a mutual fund. And you know, when I got that quarterly review, my account was at 4,500, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? It took a dip, and I'm like, a quick dip. And you know, I had a banker relationship. I was at Fifth Third at the time, and she was like, you know, Derrick, don't worry about it. It'll come back. And I'm like, I was in the streets at the time. And I'm like, no, I could have flipped that. You know what I mean? And so I told her, I said, nah, let me go and just pull my money back out. I could, you know, do better with it than y'all can do it. So then she said, well, now that you just put this in a couple months ago, you're going to get penalized for taking it out early and this and that. So it was like a $200 more penalty for taking it out early. So within like 3 months, I went from 5,000 to 4,300.
Yeah,
not knowing, and I was like, you know, so that's part of the education.
Well, you know what? But you know what that's called? They call that a bought lesson.
Oh yeah, it is
a bought lesson. They say a bought lesson beats a taught lesson.
Oh yeah, because you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn today.
Yeah. I can tell you all day, but when you lose your money.
Yeah, but back to your point, I didn't want to miss you. You had made another point you were trying to ask me
about the infinite banking. A lot of people were. I was pretty big back in the, you know, like about around Corona, around, you know, that time.
Right. So with the infinite banking concept, you just kind of have to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I was just talking to one of my brothers yesterday about this with the infinite banking concept. Right, is what it is a concept to where most people were doing it through like an IUL. And I got to touch on that part of it too. IUL stands for Index Universal Life Policy. So what people were doing is they were overfunding the account. So let's say if your premium was $200, let's say they was double and they were putting $400 in.
Yeah,
so they actually
front loading them pretty much.
Yeah. So they were paying down and bringing in more cash value in the beginning, so that they can have to borrow again. So let's say, 2 years, 3 years down the line, you got, let's say $10,000 in cash value in there. Now what they would do is, let's say I wanted to buy a car. I would take a loan against that, buy the car, and then let the car pay the actual IUL back instead of going to an actual lender and getting it from the bank. And in essence, I'm paying myself back. And my account was steadily compounding because it was compounding off of the money. So when you borrow against it, you just taking the loan out, but that money is still compounded. So that money is still compounded.
Give us a numbers example. I got $100,000 policy.
Yeah, you got $100,000. Yeah, you got $100,000.
My premium payment is, let's just say $100 a month.
Yeah, premium payment is $100 a month. So let's say you trying to dump money into it, and you're paying $400 a month now. You're paying $400 a month for it, and what length of time? A year, 6 months? When does it start to mature where you can borrow from it? Borrow against it? A lot of those factors depend on your age, you know what I mean, and things like that. Because what a lot of people don't know is it's better to do it with a whole life policy, overfunding a whole life policy versus an IUL policy. With an IUL policy, right, this is what they don't tell you. Like the big insurance companies, they don't tell you this part.
And the IUL index, that means they're pretty much investing in your money is going in the stock market.
Right.
They're investing your money, and you can get dividends, you can make some money, but
you can make some money, but also the biggest thing about that is what people don't understand, right? With an IUL, a portion of there's two types of insurance. You have term and you have whole life. Term means it's for a term. It could be a 10-year period, 20-year period, sometimes 30-year period. Then you also have what's called a whole life, which means it's going to be the same for your whole life. And depending on when you get it is how effective it is. So getting a whole life, you can get a whole life policy at age 20, and when you're age 75, you're still paying what you paid at age 20. But
Right.
if you get let's say if you get a term life, now with that term life policy, once that you got it at age 20, is for 20 years. Now when you get it at 40, when you go to renewing it, they're going to charge you at whatever age you're at 40. So you got it at 20, you was paying
like getting a whole new policy.
money into it. Yeah, you spend $19
getting a whole new policy at the age of 40.
At the age of 40, now you paying probably a couple hundred, you know, just because, and then God forbid something going on with your health, you know what I mean? And if you are still insurable, one of the gems I want to drop on people right now, because we got on the topic of insurance, right? There's something called the baby boomer. So, I mean, not the baby boomer, but the $1 million baby. And how we was doing that, we was doing it through an IUL. But when I got with a different company, they told me more about how to, you know, go about funding a life insurance policy. But when you, the portion, the IUL policy is part whole life and part term. So even though you're putting the money into it, right, and you're overfunding it, eventually that still starts to creep up. And now you start to eat back into that money because it's actually a annually renewable term policy that you're buying. So each year you just bought it at that age, but it continues to grow up.
That's why the premium can go up, or normally
exactly.
goes. Or, but can it go down if the stock market is doing good? If you
nope, because it's going against your age. Portion of that is the portion of it is whatever age you bought it at. So let's say if you bought it at age 20, 25, you know what I'm saying? You bought it at 25. Now the permanent portion of it is that's all you're paying at that. But the term policy is, and so when you turn 26, it creeps up. When you turn 27, it's creeping up, that portion of it. So a lot of people are not seeing it, but that's in hopes that you were putting enough money into it so that it like is compounding faster than you can really see that age hitting it.
But you still have a set death benefit though, right? So you still have a base amount that, you know,
cash value. Yeah, but your cash value is being eaten up. So in a policy, that's the thing about
that sound bad, bro. That sound bad.
Yeah, bro. That's why we have to really do our homework, man. It's just so much that, you know what I mean? Like I say, what's
the selling point of the IUL? Because they were pretty popular. I think I got one. I think I left you and you got one of those myself. So
yeah. So the selling point is it's sexy in the beginning, right? It's sexy in the beginning, and it's sexy as long as you are, you know, putting enough cash into it. Okay. Right. So, you know what I mean? It does have some perks, but it's really like you got to really kind of do your homework. And so when you are working with an agent, right? This is what I tell people when you're working with life insurance agents and things like that. Same as a lawyer, you want to make sure you're working with a fiduciary company, fiduciary broker, fiduciary agent. And what the term fiduciary means is basically they are vowed to have your best interest at heart, right, versus them looking out for the company. So their job is to make sure that you are taken care of. So, but
isn't that the agent? Isn't that all agent? Every agent is supposed to be fiduciary, right?
No, every agent is not. So you have to actually ask, are you all a fiduciary company? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know what I mean, and that's some things of it. So it's some. And if you think about it like this, a lot of people don't think about it. You have a broker that shops for you for the best product, but then you also have somebody that's maybe strictly tied to Prudential or something, right? Where they only marketing you Prudential products, right? So if you got somebody that's only marketing you Prudential products, hey, Prudential is the best.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody
whatever you got, come over here, right?
Right. But if you got somebody that can just be honest with you and open and say, I'm just going to get you the best, you know, no matter where we are, I can take you here, I can take you there. I work with everybody. So I worked with,
but some companies pay a bigger commission than others too. Even as a broker, you might be like, well, I'm going to steer. It's almost like a pharmaceutical salesperson. They don't know what they're selling to doctors. They just want to sell. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, and you know what? You know what's funny about that? When you talk about well-rounded, right? I actually did pharmaceutical.
Oh, don't tell me.
No.
Oh, don't tell me.
Hey, I got my pharmaceutical sales certification, right?
This dude, man. This dude, man. Hold on, man. Let me wake him up, man.
Hey, but I'm telling you, when I figured it out that they are truly the real drug dealers, I let it go, bro. Because what a pharmaceutical salesperson does, right? And you know, I'm not knocking them. I just know what it is. I had to, and that's the thing about me. And a lot of people would think about, like, with my background and my how I did what I did and what led me to be where I'm at, especially as far as an entrepreneur. I mean, I've had diverse backgrounds. Like I said, it's even as far as a real estate agent, right? With a real estate agent, people don't think about it like this. A lot of people feel like it's sexy, right, to be a real estate agent and things go like this. So let's think about it, especially in Gary, Indiana, when I was coming up. You know what I mean? We had $10,000, $15,000 houses that people were trying to buy as investment properties, right? So we had, you know, and a $15,000 property is going to take as long as, you know, go through the paperwork and all that as a $100,000, $200,000 property. But let's just do it even on this side of it, right? As a agent, $100,000 property. If you're a broker, or, you know, now everybody's a broker. You used to come in as an agent, be an agent for a year to go back and get your broker's license.
Right. I had my insurance license. I was a real estate agent for, you know, at one point. So I got it. Yeah.
You talking about me? You
know how we do, man. We from the G, man. We gotta. We hustlers.
We gonna get it. We gonna figure it out. Yeah. But so what I was saying is this, just to make a synopsis of that, right? And that's the education of it. People be like, okay, you know, so if I had $100,000 property, right, and you sold it, that's you have the selling side and you have the listing side. So now that breaks down to 3%, right? So if somebody had their property listed, so now they got it to where the
$6,000 commission. So you got a $6,000 commission. You split that with the both sides. That's $3,000. Then you still got to pay your broker. Your broker wants a piece of your commission.
That's it. And if you starting out as an agent, that's another 50% split. So basically, you sold a $100,000 house. You done drove around. You done chauffeured people. You done had to wait at least 30 days for the house to close, and your payment is $1,500. You made a $1,500 commission on a $100,000 property. So think about that. $1,500 a month. How many properties you got to sell to, you know, to have a decent living in the real estate game? You got to really do it off volume. And sometimes if you're with a more of a known broker, that's what they got all these fees. Now you got monthly dues that you got to pay. You got your real estate dues you got to pay. So I eventually got on the wholesaler side, right? With a wholesaler, I can basically find a property somebody wants to sell, pop it off, make $5,000, $10,000 in quote unquote. Because
you're the middleman. You're finding the buyer. You kind of like it. You're acting as a real estate agent a little bit, right?
Yeah. I mean, you basically are the middleman.
Because that's illegal. Some states won't let you do wholesaling, right?
Yeah, some states won't, and they're kind of cracking down on it. But as long as it's legal right now, you know, people are still doing it. And the thing of it is, that's what they put those blinders on you, right, bro? When you get into that as an agent, they tell, oh, you can't do this. It's against the law. This is when it's really not. In 70% of the states still right now. You know what I mean? You can still wholesale.
Yeah. So damn, man. So you wholesale. You wholesale. What
I was gonna say about the pharmaceutical sales part, right? When I got my certification, I'm like, yeah, let me go and find out. But what I realized was, they're just testing people to be guinea pigs, right? So how it works is let's say Lily comes out with a new drug, you taking it, you going to the doctor like, hey, I got this new, we got this woo woo woo, and you gotta, you know what I'm saying, kind of,
you really buying the doctor. You buying them with the big account. You giving them tickets to the box seats to the game. You bringing in lunch for the staff.
Breakfast.
You bringing in. You giving them. You picking them up in a limo. I mean, you really you're courting this doctor to market your product. The doctor don't care because he didn't just got thousands of dollars worth of free stuff out.
Right.
And so the doctor gonna send it off because. I don't like them. I don't like them. I mean, I don't like. I like them. I ain't saying that, but I don't like them because they're just like you say. They just giving you anything.
Yeah, and so when we really think about it, bro, I mean, it goes deep. Like think about big pharma and really the billionaires in this and that. The whole thing about the drug industry is to not cure you. Is to keep you on the drug for the rest of your life,
and some of the drugs even have adverse side effects that they switched the initial part of the drug to something to the side effect. They sell a side effect because it's like the Ozempic stuff that was for like high blood or like
weight loss.
That's for a diabetic use.
Started off as that, right?
Now they just switch. Well, it's weight loss.
Right.
Look at Viagra. Viagra was used for something else. Then they found out it get you hard.
So
you see what I'm saying? So they don't know what they be selling half the time.
You know what? And one of the biggest things what I saw was this, right? So it also goes like this. So now, like you bring in some trial samples to the doctor, you let them hold them down, like you said. These ain't clinically proven. We don't know what's going on with it. But guess what? When somebody comes in, can't afford the medication, the doctor will say, hey, try this. Because they got it for free. Now if it works, hey, I want to use it. You know what I mean? But it's like you gave it to somebody. Now what if they have the side effects? Hey, I just, it wasn't on me. And so it's like they allow people to really be guinea pigs, bro. It's kind of really dirty. And just like I said, when we think about it like this. The pharmaceutical, I mean, that's why when you go to the doctor now, see, I think more holistically anyway. So they always had a conflict with that because we've been healing ourselves with the plants of the earth, the fruits, vegetables, things like that, burdock root, lemon, anything that we can, but they won't let doctors and everything prescribe that because they can't make money off of it, right?
Yeah.
They can't patent it. They can't, you know what I mean? And then so they will never let them say that will cure it. No, that is said to cure, but you cannot tell somebody that, like you ain't going to go to the doctor and they just say, get you some orange juice and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So get you some castor oil or something. They're not doing that, bro. So they're going to put you on some pills that's they're going to be able to benefit from.
Yeah. How long did it take to get that license to get certified for pharmaceutical?
That was probably like maybe a couple. It was a course, so it was not that long. Maybe a few months to knock out.
Okay. And did you try? You actually went out and tried it?
Well, what I did was I actually when I passed it, right, when I started to market, and I really kind of got into it at that point, seeing what I had to do. And then they tell you, you know what I mean, what it's like to work with a doctor and how you have to do, and you know what I'm saying, things you have to do. I was like, I don't really want to do that. I kind of thought of the part of it because when it was introduced to me of how lucrative it was, but you have to realize what you have to really kind of go through, and sometimes it plays on your moral and your ethical values, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's not the money is is bigger than the money, because if I knew that, and this is why they call them the real drug dealers, because if I knew something was going to be hurting you in the long run, we found out a long time ago that Bear had heroin in it, and it took 20, 30 years for them to realize that.
What had heroin in it?
Bear, that like that.
Bear. Yeah, Bear. Yeah. I was in the doctor's office the other day. I was going to Actually, I gotta go with my lab work. You know, we you know, like I said, I'm 50, bro. So you know,
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking care of myself. So I'm going for my annual checkup, and then and getting them FMLA papers filled out too.
Right.
So I'm sitting there, and all I hear is the staff that, you know, in the front. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a pharmaceutical sales rep, right? She had bags and bags, and I'll just go back and talk to the doctor. You know, she not. Oh yeah, I'll talk to Carol. It was like she was at home, and she had lunch for everybody, and I just looked, and I was just like,
oh yeah. And now think about it.
I just shook myself. I'm like, I already know you like you say, you a drug dealer.
Yeah, I got a buddy of mine. I ain't gonna mention her name, but she's she's Puerto Rican, living in Miami, bilingual. You know, she's cute, so it works for her real well. She going in there seeing the doctors, and you know, they give her whatever she want.
Yep, she pull her shirt down. You know, hey, you know, you know how the women do.
Right, yeah.
Man, that's
she living in the penthouse out there in Miami in the brickies.
Hey
downtown.
Man, I ain't mad at him, man. I ain't mad at him. Yeah, man. So but yeah, man. So you from Gary? What you think about the show, man? We got our boy MJ, man, breaks record, man, for the Michael Jackson movie, man. Breaks box office records for a biopic. So this is the first biopic that you know has grossed the numbers that it's grossed, man. So in its opening, did you see the movie?
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about it, man. You know, as the people tell you all about it, you almost feel like you didn't see it because they told you so much about it. But
I mean, we know the story. Let's just be honest. We grew up. I mean,
yeah,
it ain't like we don't know what the man went through.
Right, and you know what I mean. I think it was good to, you know what I mean, kind of get because I was told it was a different narrative of his life versus, you know what I mean, everything. It was more of like a behind the scenes type of deal to where, you know, we had the other Michael Jackson movie before, but I heard this was a different approach, and this was really talked about his life and how he came up, and you know what his life was really like on more of a day-to-day basis. And so, like I say, I think it's good, man, for the culture, man, to really, you know what I'm saying, kind of appreciate Mike and understand Mike. I really think Mike was a pure genius. He was brilliant, and he really, you know, he really was like smart in a way that I don't know the story on how they you know what happened to my man. They said the doctor tried to off him and the whole nine. But what I really believe is they knew he was a force to be reckoned with, and he could make some things happen politically, and he was on that path. He was really waking up to that. Now, just imagine somebody with his influence really tapping into us as a culture and saying, let's wake up our people. So think about it. Think about it. One of his last songs. What was one of his last songs? All I gotta say is that they don't really care about us. You feel me? And if you really listen to the lyrics, bro, he was on that. He was waking up to that. He was really getting people to say that, hey, it's time for us to stand up for ourselves. It's time for us to do, and that's what he was trying to push. Yeah. I need to do a little bit more research on it, but he was working with some political figures that was, you know what I'm saying, some black, you know what I'm saying, people that was really waking him up and saying, man, you can change the world. You know, we had this song back in the day, we are the world, we are the children. Yeah. I mean, as far as even with the music, right? The music industry, if you see where the music industry is now and what they're pushing, think about it, man. It's a lot of ignorance, bro. Yeah. When we was coming up, what we had Fight the Power. You know what I'm saying?
We had hip hop, man. We had it was really telling the story of what's going on in our community. It was impactful. It was fun. You know, great beats. It had a message.
To the song, remember Self-Destruction.
Yeah, it had a message.
It had it for self-destruction, and so they just letting us self-destruct now. A lot of times, think about it, man. It's really sad to the point now we got. I mean, it's really so much mainstream, and people really sitting back and you know looking at this stuff like it's a game. Think about it, like even the Gucci situation. You know what I mean? They, man, you know, they put a gun in his head and did all this for him to sign a contract. People, oh man, Gucci should have did this. If Gucci end up dead, who's gonna care? It's just gonna be another topic. You get what I'm saying? So Gucci, you know, had to do what he felt like he needed to do. I'm gonna get the, you know what I'm saying, because he retaliated. He know he going to prison because it was already, everybody else knew about the stuff. So you got to know how to move. You know what I mean? And his was gonna be premeditated because I plotted on this. You know what I'm saying? Just like, you know, so it's just about, man, being smart and being, you know, he been in the prison, he been behind that wall. And a lot of times, you know, people will watch our people self-destruct. And that's one of the things why I am how I am, man, because I've had to literally watch some of my people self-destruct. I've seen them going down paths. I'm talking about even family members, right? You know what I mean? I had a younger cousin that you know, was taken up under my wing, and you know, had to watch him and see some things. Well, when I looked around, I seen him kind of getting out of hand. You know, you start noticing some things about them. They get to, you know, and they not ready for that. So a lot of times, you know, I'll have my share of the streets. You know what I mean? I had my share coming up. Had a lot of people that didn't make it out. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, coming from Gary, Indiana. You know,
I know when you put them shades on, it's the man right there with them shades. When I see you with them shades on, hey, that alter ego kick in, that GI come out.
Hey, and you know what? And speaking of that, man, you know, I say that because that is the biggest reason why I want to work with people, and I feel like my biggest influence is the impact, bro, because when we have these youngsters going down these roads and these paths, we are the ones, we the elders now, bro. You know what I'm saying? Look at this. Every time I go to the gas station,
look at me, I had him.
Look, every time I go to the gas station, it's OG. It's OG now, you know what I mean? And so we have to really do something with that. If I am the OG, then I need to be leading you in a better direction and then, you know, trying to put a pack in your hand and say, you know, this the way, man, go fit, you know. And a lot of times, man, people play too much on that. We all came up, oh, I had to feed my family. There's a million different ways you can feed your family, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's not the only way you can feed your family.
Didn't you used to work in the mill?
I never worked in the mill. No.
Oh, you never? Okay. For some reason, I thought you worked in the mill.
No, I just basically, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, man, for who?
How did your what did you do in your 20s? Like your 20s, what was your
hustle?
So 20s was hustling.
So listen, this is why I say, you know what I mean? I just keep it real about, you know, the impact that I want to have, because that's why I say that without trying to incriminate myself, you know. Yeah. I dealt with that lifestyle, bro. I dealt with, you know what I'm saying, coming up in the hood, you know, all the boys in the hood aspect of it, been there, done that. All the menace society aspect, been there, done that. You feel what I'm saying? So a long story short, when you've seen people get laid out in cold blood, you know what I'm saying? When you see people going down the path, you done dropped out of high school, now you hustling, 3-4 years later, you dead. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was going with. That's the thing I was going with my nephew. I mean, not my nephew, but my actual cousin. I treated him like a nephew. He was my little cousin though, right? My little cousin, I seen him going down the path, right? You get to hanging with the wrong crowd, you out here. Next thing I know, I didn't see you. It was like a pattern. I seen it. I wouldn't pick, because I used to pick them up, you know, because at the while you start, and this is the pattern that especially young black men, they want to be around you when they're coming up, but then when they start feeling themselves and they start getting, you know, feeling like they want to be part of the streets, so they're going to distance themselves from you because they don't want you to know they out here in these streets and doing things. So when I started getting them, started picking up stuff, started seeing, I'm like, you smell like weed, you smell like cigarettes, you know, that's what we doing now, you know, 16, 17, then gets you know, Title 20 from school. Oh, they found weed in your locker. Then you down the path. Then, bro, before I could stop him, bro, you know what I'm saying? He out here robbing banks. Bank robbery.
Oh.
Did 9 years in the feds. You know, and so this is why I say I don't want to see our youth just going down this path thinking it's cool, bro. It's not cool, man, to live your, you know, to just kind of live your life and behind bars, and you know what I'm saying, you could have done more with your life. And so this is the impact when I think about how I survived the streets. Death on the streets.
But your background is education. I mean, you are a very, very smart guy. You know what I'm saying? So how did the streets and your education, how did you balance that? You know what I'm saying? Being as smart as you are, but then, you know.
You know what, bro? I would say this. Actually, it came to the point to where I had to, you know, kind of literally grow up on my own. I had to do some self growth because what had happened was, like I said, you know, this is how I know, because as smart as I was, like, you know, I always considered myself a leader. I was, you know, National Honor Society in high school, right? Graduated top 10 in class. And the funniest thing of it was like, even my teacher, my senior English teacher, she said, it should be, you know, she was kind of mad because she knew I hung out with the popular crowd, but she knew I was still honest. She expected me to really kind of be a nerd walking around with, you know, just with the nerd herd, you know. So when I was still, you know what I'm saying, making my grades and, you know, exceeding that, but I still was hanging with my guys from the hood, she was like, how is this guy so versatile, really? You know what I mean? What is he? Yeah. So she, you know, she was like, it should be some type of ban on that. Like, she really couldn't get it because I'm hanging with people that's getting Title 20 and, you know what I mean, get suspended and fighting every day, you know. So, you know, that
definitely shows leadership for sure, you know.
Yeah, and so what you know, and even like I said, I came up in sports. I was captain of the football team ever since I started playing football. Captain of the wrestling team, you know what I mean? When I threw the shot put for wrestling the track junior high, I was captain of that. So I always took a leadership role. And what ended up happening was when I realized I was.
So you wasn't a dumb jock. You was a smart jock. You wasn't a dumb jock. You was a smart jock.
Right, bro. Right. And speaking of that, now even to touch on that, right? My senior year playing, you know, my whole mind, I'm ready to go to the pro. I'm ready to go to the league. I'm ready to do something. You know, I had made all area football. You know what I'm saying? My junior year, I went to semi-state in wrestling. You know what I mean? In my junior year, these is both my junior year. Dang. My senior year, I made all area, and the last game of the season in sectionals, guy came, hit me with his helmet in my leg, broke my leg in 3 places, man. I was carted off the field.
Oh, no.
Yeah, bro. Had to get a pin, a plate, and a screw in my leg. So it kind of changed my dynamic of what am I going to do now? You know what I'm saying? My whole mind, you know, you think you 16, 17, you thinking about people pumping your head like you go to the
buy my mama house. Buy my mama house, man.
Off top. Yeah, man. Scholarships, the whole 9. And it was so ironic was
the
next day after that game, I was supposed to went to went to Western Michigan, watch their team play, talk to the coaches and all that. I'm laid up in the hospital getting prepped for surgery. And, you know, it kind of changed my whole, I'm talking about I had letters coming in, bro, from, you know, Notre Dame, Cincinnati Bearcats, IU. I mean, and after I broke my leg, it was like the letters just stopped. Instantly. I'm like, wow. So I had to have a different perspective on my life. And I really, you know, I was even going to try to be a walk-on, right? I went to Purdue. And I, you know, but the doctor had told me, I said, Doc, will I ever be able to play again? This and this and that. He was like, well, you know, you got that, you know, the pin, the plate. I actually got the screw removed, so I still got a pin and the plate, you know, in my leg. And he said, well, you know, if you ever have a similar injury again, you know, you're probably gonna, you know, end up with a permanent limp and things like that. And I'm like, I didn't think it was worth it at that point. I wanted to still be whole, you know what I'm saying? And went injury free my whole career until the last game of the season, bro. And that was just kind of wild for me. So, but what it helped me do was kind of get back to knowing, like you said, kind of relying on my intelligence, my smart. So as I went to college, you know what I'm saying? When I got into college, that's when I started, you know, like I say, I know how the game goes. Started feeling myself and, you know what I'm saying? And got introduced to the hustle, fam. And so I was hustling in college. You know what I'm saying? When I graduated from college, that was around 9/11, 2001. And I'm like, man, well, you know what, you know, and so even with my degree and everything, that was when 9/11 happened, right?
Yeah.
So it was like hiring freeze, bro. They weren't really hiring nobody, this and this and that. I'm putting in
that's when I was doing real estate. That was my real estate. Yeah.
Man. And so, you know, and so that's what it was actually. And so I ended up saying, you know what, I graduated in 2001. I stayed in Lafayette. Stayed in West Lafayette for an extra year. And then, you know what I mean? When I came back to the crib, it was just like, you know, the jungle took over.
You
know, hey. And so, I mean, really, I was, you know what I'm saying, in the streets, just kind of like got into this living La Vida Loca, you know what I'm saying, YOLO type of phase of my life where, I mean, I'm, you know what I'm saying, just doing me. And I was like, you know, 3, 4, 5 cars and fixing them up, souping them up, painting them up, you know, doing all that life. And, you know, I'm saying, even in all this time.
49, right? 49? Is it 49?
No, you know, it's DHB.
DHB, okay. I know it's
I get 49. I actually grew up in 49. I left 49 when I was 9 years old. So that was still my hood. I still had love for them, even, you know. Shout out to the 9. But
shout out to everybody, man.
You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying, DHB was really my stomping grounds. And so from that whole time in that era, bro, I'm talking about it got ugly. You know, things was happening and people was, you know what I'm saying, dying, and it was war. It was really like war on these streets for real. So when you seen that and did all that, and as you growing and as you maturing, you like, I want better for my life and I gotta, you know, figure some things out. Long story short, that's when about 05, ironically, I said, I gotta make a change, man. I gotta do something better. That's when I started Prepaid Legal. Yeah.
When I seen you suited up, I'm like, damn, I was like, it was kind of different, me seeing you with a suit and tie on. I'm like, that's what I really connect. That's when I was like, I was proud of you, bro. Like, we don't really, I don't even know how we know each other really like that. But
it was from that. It was from the Prepaid Legal. You was doing the meetings and everything. And
but what I'm saying, but I knew you from the streets though too.
Oh yeah. We started after that, and then also remember when I got into real estate, I was working for Kev with Mobile Realty.
Okay, yeah.
So we connected that way too, and then seeing you around, and we kind of connected.
Just seeing you
or something.
You know, because I was promoting parties and all that too. You know what I'm saying? Doing my promotion. Because matter of fact, shout out to you because you sponsored one of my shows too. Remember? You probably remember.
It was. I know I was rocking with you, but I don't remember.
Yeah, you was rocking with me because I was like, man, I'm looking for sponsors. You was like, oh yeah, I sponsor. I seen you, you know, advertising your business. I'm like, man, yeah, man. So
this always been, bro. Come forward.
Oh yeah, always been solid, man. I'm gonna get with you. I want you to review my policy, that this nationwide policy I got that I left, you know, and then you can kind of direct me. I want to start some new stuff for me and my daughter, as far as the insurance. So I'm gonna get with you offline about that, and just tell us a little bit more about your funding, man. We'll wrap it up, man. I know we got a flyer here, so tell us about what you're doing now, and you know what you giving to the people.
Yeah, man. So with the funding, like I said, bro. As far as the lending, so I'm a business lending broker, right? Commercial broker. So commercial consultant. So we deal with all aspects of funding. And so I deal with, you know, businesses, like I say, so on the actual funding side, we have minimum 200K is the minimum for, you know, business funding, which is roughly about $16,000 a month. is where we like to have a sweet spot. But being, that I really want to help those coming up and really building their business and starting out, pre-revenue and everything, I actually take to that side a little bit more to heart. So I help people with setting up their business actually and getting what's called fundable, which means that when the banks see their business, they know that they're credible as far as like having your LLC set up, your EIN, your actual DUNS number, your business bank account, your business email, business phone number, website, and just kind of make sure you're ready so that when you are ready to apply for funding, that the structure is already there, and then it's just a matter of funding. So I take people through the aspect, and that's why I said I utilize my essential scan to just kind of deep dive into the business, figure out where they're at, and then set them on a roadmap. And the MAP stands for Massive Action Plan. So that's what it means by the MAP. I have the Essential Scan Navigator setting them up with a roadmap. The MAP is the Massive Action Plan. So we'll have a 12-week program for that, where just depending on, the type of help they need and in the business, the 12-week, I call that the sprint. Then I also have a 6-month program, and that's the accelerator, where we do more of a deep dive. We do some actual accountability for them, accountability for myself and their business. And also, I'm not only a coach, right? I call myself a QB. So I'm the quarterback in the game, because I not only coach people, I get in the trenches with you and figure out what the business needs. And if we need to do some play calling, some audibling, you know what I mean, along the way to get you.
I want you to help me. I want you to help me with that too, man. We gonna definitely, man, stay connected. Is there upfront fee, or how do you get paid, or?
So mainly, like I say, I basically have the 2 programs that I do. So just depending on the book a call is free. I'm not, charging for the initial consultation and that, and just depending on where the business is at and what they're doing. I do have 2 actual programs. So the one starting out is the 12-week sprint. We meet once a week, kind of go over the goals, anywhere between an hour, 2 hours. Sometimes they actually have some, I don't call it homework, I call it goal work, because, I call it goal work because they're actually getting to the point to where they, they're putting together their plan. So it's part of the whole system, right? Taking it step by step, one by one, on how they're getting there. So I call it the goal work. That's the 12-week sprint. And then if they need more than that, then it is it's an actual 6-month program. The 12-week, the 90-day program is starting out at $2,500 for the 12-week, and then the 6-month is the $5K. And so that's like meeting once a week for that time frame, checking in, and also, like I said, revitalizing. And that, they both come with a business plan too. So if they don't have a business plan in place, we set you up with a business plan as well as a grant proposal. So a lot of times we actually have to have situations where a lot of people don't realize not only nonprofits can get funding, but you can also get funding for for-profit businesses as far as grant funding. So we'll make sure they're situated. And then, like I say, that business plan is a lot of times the roadmap. So when you're going for, a lot of times people don't need the business plan in the beginning, but as you start going after larger amounts of funding and actually wanting to work with private investors and things like that, that's when you'll, want to have the, let them know what your goal is and your vision for the company. And that's what I kind of help people do and kind of break down when it comes to that essential scan, because a lot of times, people want to come into business and they realize that their why is not deep enough. And I actually do it's an exercise where we go through their why, but we take their why 7 levels deep, right? Because everybody has a surface level why. Oh, I want to do it for my kids, I want this and this and that, but why? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And one of the biggest things is we do what we do as adults and things like that. And what I realized we have to really, when we really want to build up generational wealth and things like that, we also have to make sure that we are creating generational education and generational understanding. Because like when I was in real estate, one of the biggest things I saw was people were actually, you know, working their whole life building this up to the, you know, to pass out to their kids. Some of their kids out here didn't want to have the properties, on drugs, you know what I mean? And properties going up to probate, going up to sale, getting taken up by taxes and things like that. And so like I say, my whole mission also with that is to take it to another level when it comes to, you know, all my mentees and those that I bring in. Eventually, like I say, everybody doesn't have to be an entrepreneur, but I believe everybody should be an investor, bro. Everybody needs to learn investing and be able to create generational wealth, because we can't work for it. I mean, for a lot of us, we've been working 30 years already, you know, and still not ready to retire or still a nest egg like we thought we would by working 30 years, because a lot of it comes from not investing and, you know, not investing in the right vehicle. So that was one of the reasons why I brought up that. Like I say, anybody can book a call with me too. Again, I just want to reemphasize about
how do they book a call? How they book with you?
So they can book with me easily by going to bookwithderrick.com. That's BOOKWITHDERRICK.com. Yeah, that's the easiest way to book with me. Yep. And then, like I say, or
get in touch with Convo with Cino, man. I'll make sure we get you in touch with Derrick man Anderson. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Man, it's been real, brother. You done had a whole part 1, part 2. We done did a 2 hour show.
We got to turn up. I appreciate it, bro.
2 hours, man, of financial literacy. I love it. I love it. I love it, man.
Yes, sir.
Love it, bro. I love it, man. Hey, man. So I appreciate you, my brother. We gonna be definitely stay in contact. You can come back to Convo with Cino anytime. I'm gonna set you up with Marsha, so we can you know, do that. What you're talking about. Definitely. And man, we gonna get the word out, man. And like you said, like your goal is to help them 1,000 families, man. I'm with you. We here with you, sir. Support you here at Convo with Cino Solutions and everything, bro. So we gonna log off, man. And hey, man, much love, bro.
Oh yeah, shout out my brother. Peace, man. Thanks everybody for listening, watching. Tune in, like, share, subscribe. Cino, Convo with Cino, man. Hey, it's a dope thing you're doing, man. Empowering the people, getting the word out in all aspects. I've checked out quite a few more shows, you know what I'm saying? Show support. And like I say, I hope everybody keep the energy going, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, my brother. Hey, peace. We'll see y'all next week, man. Another hot guest next week. You don't want to miss it. Woo-hoo! Hey, all I'm gonna say is this. All I'm gonna do is this. Next week we got a fighter on. We got a fighter coming up. All right, y'all. Stay tuned, man. Keep it locked. Convo with Cino. We out.
Peace.